Hey,
All right, we'll start with a question from Chandler.
What's up, Dusty?
got it.
What impresses you the most about Phil Maton since you guys got him, and especially what he's been able to do for you guys in the playoffs?
Well, he's gotten better. I mean, he's one of the players that you have to have him for a while, to grow on you, um, you know, by his performance and, his ability to get guys out, not throwing at a super high velocity, but the fact that they don't pick up the ball as well as they should, which makes his fastball look faster and his breaking ball look like it's breaking more than it is. And he got some guts, which will take you a long ways.
Question from McTaggart.
Yeah, Garcia going tomorrow. It looked like he was kind of your only option at this point, but how much do you think you can get out of him at 3 days rest at this point? Who do you think might line up after that?
I don't know. Depends where we are in the lineup. He's not our only option. Like we got Odorizzi. We could come back with Urquidy because yesterday was his throw day, but I'd rather not. So, we got a full option. We got Urquidy. I'm sorry. We have a well-rested now, Javier. After him, we have well-rested Odorizzi. We have a well-rested Taylor, semi-rested Rayleigh, semi-rested, rest of the bullpen probably other than Graveman, and we have to see how he feels. We have a pretty well-rested now Presley. So, it could be full bullpen, and then we're worried about Game 7 on Wednesday.
Question from Christy.
Hey, Dusty. Obviously, you have a lot of stars on this team, but how valuable is it to have these role players that can come off the bench and deliver a big hit or have a big moment for you guys?
Well, yeah, it's like in every sport, you got to have the guys that come off, the bench. And in football, you have like a third down rusher. Basketball, you got 6th and 7th man. I mean, in every sport, these guys make the difference because like you'll wear your stars out, and they can't do it all the time, and you have to have other guys on your team that you call upon, especially in a specialty situation. You got your nickel back in football. It's the same way in baseball. Your extra guys are the guys that put you over the top.
Question from Brian.
Dusty, what was the feel just coming back with the team last night, flying back, clubhouse after that win? The players sounded very, very confident. And I think if you look at it one way, for as much as we want to talk about history and coming back from 3-1,
yeah,
you guys really just have to win 2 home games, which you've done 100 times before, to win the World Series.
Right. Well, I mean, still, we have to win 2 and they have to win 1. But, we came back today. We didn't come back last night. That would have been back too late. Let guys get semi-rest. We came back actually right now. And I think that was a good choice. The Braves are also coming back here a little later this afternoon. And, the guys were happy, but they weren't like really overjoyed. I mean, they know that we still have work to do. And, like when you want to go up there, you want to win 3 and win there. And then, when it didn't happen in Game 1 and then in Game 2, we're behind the 8 ball. Then you change your rally cry to, we just want to get back to the H-Town. We want to go back home. And then now our whole thing is win game 1, which is Game 6, and then put us in a position to win Game 7.
Thank you.
Question from Jake. He's having some technical difficulties. We'll go with Adam.
Dusty, just how much better did Bregman look to you yesterday, and what do you plan on keeping him in the same spot that he was in last night?
I don't know. I mean, he looked, yeah. I mean, he looked better. But you just don't come out of something overnight generally. I mean, it didn't take you a day to get in this mess, and it's not going to take you a day to get out. But like he looked a lot better. I mean, he got the biggest hit of the night to me, up to that point at least, to get us back in the game. And so I'm not sure. Yeah, probably so. But one day doesn't mean that you're out of the woods yet.
Question from McTaggart.
I think you mentioned yesterday you were going to talk to Castro and see how he's doing. Do you think there's any chance that he could be activated on these last two games? And how is he doing?
Probably not. I tried to call him today, and he didn't answer his phone. I tried to call him this morning actually, and I left him a message. And so, no, probably not.
Question from Jake Kaplan.
I'm good, Rachel. Thank you.
Are you good? Okay. Question from Mark.
Dustin, you touched on it a little bit, but what does this do? You didn't just stay off elimination. You fought back from a huge deficit early. What can that do for a club with all those things combined going into another elimination game?
Well, I mean, if there's gonna be a big inning, you want it to be in the first or second inning. That gives you 8 to maybe even 9 runs to come back. You just don't want that big inning to happen in the middle part of the game when you have less outs, to come back, or even later. So, I figured if we could just hold them where they were, you can't trade runs with them at that time. You can't let them add on runs. Even though at that time the other team is operating on a very confident offensive high at that time, and then you have to sort of try to take the momentum, away from them, steady the game. But that was big. I can't repeat how big that double by Bregman was, because that cut and then we got the sack fly. I mean, that cut the deficit. That made it 4-0 sounds like a lot, and then all of a sudden it's 2-0. You know what I mean? So, it's a big difference. And so that was a huge, and then the air, by them with like Dansby doesn't usually make errors. I mean, usually whenever a rally starts, there's usually an error or a couple walks. Very rarely in modern baseball do they get like 2, 3, 4 consecutive runs in a row. I'm sorry, not runs in a row, hits in a row. Yep.
Question from Danielle.
Do you know if Castro was able to make it back to Houston at least?
Not yet. Yeah, I think he's coming back this afternoon.
Question from Steve.
Dusty, in this series, the Braves have scored 12 of their 18 runs on home runs. It's really been their biggest weapon. You all have only scored 2 on homers on 2 Altuve solo homers. Does that disparity surprise you? And going into these last 2 games, does that put more of an impetus on you all to manufacture runs?
Not really. I mean, they depend on the home run a lot anyway, and, we depend on the home run sometime, but I mean, when you've held, when you've held, let's think, you see, has Tucker had a home run in this series yet?
No, Jose has both of your home runs.
Yeah, exactly. When you hold Tucker, especially when you hold Big Alvarez, and you're holding Bregman. I mean, you're holding, some guys, Carlos. I mean, these guys are due. And, like I said, when we first went to Atlanta, I mean, it was tough to hit those first couple of days in Atlanta, because we had been on the field. We didn't know the sight lines. We didn't know the backdrop. I mean, it was like, coming out, with no practice. Like, when was the last time you seen a football game where they don't come out in the elements in practice? Or when was the last time you seen a basketball game where they don't have the morning shoot around? I mean, they have that for a reason, not only to, to learn the court and the vision, but to also, get your blood circulating. So, I mean, yesterday was more like the team that we know than the first couple games there.
Question from Alden Gonzalez.
Hey, Dusty, just wanted to follow up real quick. You outlined previously just some of your potential other options for Game 6. What made Luis Garcia the choice for you on short rest then?
Well, I mean, we think that, he's the best, at that, and, for the job. Excuse me. And, I mean, we realize that, he has a short lease, but damn near everybody out there has a short lease and operating on low rest or not full rest.
Question from Brian Bearfield.
Dusty, how emotional was it for you before Game 3 to be able to see the widow of Hank Aaron and to see his kids in that tribute and that video tribute? I remember I talked to you earlier about how they did it at the All-Star game, and you said that you hate that you got a chance that you didn't make it to that. But how emotional was it for you?
Well, it was emotional. I mean, like after a while, you gotta kind of hold your emotions in check, and I mean, you never really get over it. But I mean, just like the death of my dad. I mean, every once in a while I get really emotional, but I'm not a crier per se, because my dad didn't like crybabies, he used to call it. I mean, I didn't cry at my dad's funeral. I cried a couple weeks later in the shower where it hit you. But I mean, my dad wouldn't, I mean, he wouldn't like that. He used to tell us, "I'll give you something to cry about," you know what I mean? And so that meant that he was about to get you a switch or pull his belt off or something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it was emotional, but I was glad to see his kids and see Billy. It's probably really emotional on Billy. And then his kids called me out on the field because I wasn't going. That was Hank and the families, but, I'm one of the family.
Question from Steve Schaefer.
Dusty, the lineup alterations you made yesterday really paid some dividends. Do you see yourself using a similar lineup in Game 6? And with Alvarez presumably being the DH, have you decided who'll start in center tomorrow?
Well, I haven't really. I've thought about it, but I haven't really, decided exactly what I'm going to do. Depends who I think is the best, to hit. Freed, the best that we need. Outfield coverage, what we need for energy. Who's kind of been hot, who's been cold. So I'll sit on that tonight. And usually the thoughts come to me in the middle of the night, like most of them do. Like the lineup change yesterday came to me in the middle of the night, and, when I should have been sleeping. But these things they come to me, and you can't really control when they come to you. So I'll just, like my dad used to tell me, some things you gotta sleep on. So I'll try to sleep on it if it lets me sleep.
Question from Chandler.
Dusty, you mentioned Freed. What were your impressions of him in Game 2, especially that second time through the order when he really kind of settled down and got into a groove?
I can't brag on him, you know what I mean? Because we gotta. I can't pump him up too much because we gotta beat him. I mean, it's no secret. The guy got good stuff. Outstanding breaking ball, good fastball, good changeup. So, we just gotta beat him.
Question from Jerome.
Hey, Dusty, you talk about these decisions come to you at night. How much input does James Click and the analytics staff have in, lineup changes and even maybe, who gets to start this pitcher?
Well, not too much. Not too much on the lineup. They kind of leave that up to me. They have more input on the pitching side of things, and they usually the organization gets together because we have quite a few pitching guys here, and the analytic department is it's probably bigger on the pitching side of things, bullpen side of things, matchup side of things. We have charts and things that pocket sheets and stuff that we have to decipher and use at our discretion.
Question from Adam Winkler.
Dusty, in the past, you've told us that you don't have much trouble going to sleep with the help of some scotch. So I'm wondering if
I don't need it. I just like it.
I'm wondering once you come to those lineup decisions, can you go straight back to sleep? Is it almost like comfort because you figured it out?
Nope. It's been like that my whole career. I mean, it first started happening when I was changed Robbie Thompson to second from seventh to second, and he had 318, and I changed Rich Aurelia from seventh to second. And I had Barry Bonds, he had 35 home runs. I mean, you can't help what comes to you, So I've learned to trust, what comes to me, it comes from above, as far as I'm concerned. So, whatever these lineup changes come to me, I'll analyze it and say, okay, this makes sense. Or sometime I'll say, it may not make sense, but I'll try it anyway. And most of the time it works, but it don't just come to you just out of the blue. It comes to you when your team is struggling like we were.
All right. That's all we have for today. Thanks, Dusty.
Thank you. All right. Now I can go home.